Hey, what's up, everybody? Kind of a late night random stream. How you doing? Hope everyone's doing good tonight. Um, I think I drew for like 6 hours today. There's something I noticed today that even after streaming for 4 hours, drawing and chatting with you guys, even if only a few people were here, you guys matter, and that's what matters. Is that I showed up. That even after 4 hours of streaming and drawing, I, rested up and kind of went through the day, and I ended up drawing for another 2 hours. And I felt very energized. And now I'm here again. And I want to do some drawing. But first, I kind of want to talk about something because I looked over today and I was kind of writing in my journal, and I drew for 6 hours today, and I still want to do more. And that like triggered a whole thing inside of me. That art is a core part of who I am. It always has been. Not just drawing. Drawing has been elusive because I always thought that it was a waste of time. Um, Music. That was another important thing. That was most of my childhood. It was all of my childhood. It was all of high school. It was a little bit after high school, but then a 10-year hiatus, and then college, like full time, like on campus from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 6 days a week, kind of full time for 3 years. And then I burned out. A writer. I've been a writer forever. I stream, I make content, even if it's not always that great. I do it. And I just kind of realized something through journaling about this is I've been operating on these past 6 years healing from a core wound. And I kind of knew what that core wound was. There was a couple of different competing core wounds. I didn't really quite know like what it was. But after seeing how energized I am from my art journey these past several weeks, I realized that there was a core memory. I'll get to chat in a second. I kind of just need to say something. There was a core memory. I was camping, and I'm not afraid to. I've already gone over this. I can talk about this publicly. It's fine. I talk about a lot of stuff publicly. This isn't the kind of thing that I would only talk about in therapy. This is meaningful. I was camping. My brothers were doing horseshoe tournaments all across California. And my dad was really into it. It was his entire thing. He was the dad. He did horseshoe tournaments. He hosted them. I remember he brought home donuts, because he was in charge of the donuts and all stuff like that. Um, and I got kind of dragged along. I did play horseshoes eventually, but because I wanted to be like my brothers, because I wanted to, do the thing that all the rest of the family was doing. But during these camping trip, previous to this, we had an art teacher in elementary school. I was like 8 or 9 when all this happened. Um, I had an art teacher, and I was doing watercolors for that year. And this was during summer, so I had my crayons, I had my colored pencils, I had pencils, I had like whatever I had. I think I had watercolors. I really liked watercolors. I feel like that's why I've been kind of floating around a lot of these things, is because there's a core childhood memory involving watercolors. Interestingly enough, that's the one thing I didn't buy on my huge binge. And I'm trying to think like like why did I avoid watercolors? I got pencils. I got ballpoint pens. I got calligraphy ink. I got dip pens. I got acrylic. I got oil paint, canvases. The one thing I didn't buy was watercolor. Maybe it's not that deep. Whatever. But I'm just realizing right now as I'm telling you this story, that's a new detail I didn't even realize. I told my dad, or I told my brothers, or I told somebody. I told somebody. I told an adult. I said, I want to be an artist when I grow up. Now, at the time when you're a child and you say something like, I want to be X, Y, or Z when I grow up, it's not about making money. It's not about a career. It's not even about the thing necessarily. The reason you say it is because you love something and it's a part of who you are. And when you're a child, you do not have the vocabulary or the understanding to differentiate, I want to be XYZ when I grow up. What you're really saying is, I want to be me and what this feeling is. I want to be the person I am when I'm doing this thing. That's what you're saying when you say those things. It's not about career. It's not about making money. It's not about anything other than that. It's about selfhood. It's about saying, this is who I am. And it's not even about the activity. It's about, this is what I feel like when I do this. This is the person that is most authentic to me when I'm doing this thing. It wasn't even about being an artist. It wasn't about drawing. It wasn't about painting. It wasn't about music. It wasn't about writing. This was an 8-year-old saying, I like who I am when I do this. But to adults, what they hear is, I want to do this for a living. And they try to protect you. That's what adults do. They say, artists don't make money. You'll struggle your whole life. This isn't something you should do because you're going to not have a good life. And I was devastated because I took it as truth. I took it as, I am not allowed to be me. That is the core wound. And I cried, I think, for 20 minutes while talking to myself, not in the crazy way, in the like almost like praying to God kind of way. I'm not going to go over what I said, but it was private. But that's the core wound I've been healing from these past 6 years. I've been doing it without fully understanding why. That's why I started streaming. That's why it led to finally starting my transition, getting the healthcare I needed, getting this road to the surgeries that I needed, that I had known I needed at that point for 13 years. But I avoided. It was the same core wound. I am not allowed to be me. And I operated on that principle my entire life from that moment at 8 years old. I am not allowed to be an artist. Maybe I could be a writer. Or maybe I can be a musician because nobody told me no for that. Not until later. In 6th grade, I was excited about a story I wanted to write. I wrote 6 or 7 pages, maybe 8 pages of a novel. It was pretty dumb. It was pretty unoriginal. It was called 3 Kingdoms. It was like blending like Final Fantasy and like other video games together. But it was original work. It was absolutely original work. It was a character who was in a kingdom who overheard a conversation. I actually kind of remember the story. I don't remember the specifics, but I threw it away, and I'll tell you why in a second. But like, there was an original character. He was a knight in a kingdom, and he learned that his kingdom was doing bad things through overhearing a conversation from his commanding officer people. He had lived his entire life believing to be righteous, believing to be good, and fighting for a good cause. And he found out that what he was doing was for a miserably evil cause. And so he left and he found a village, and then he trained how to use magic to blend with his sword. Not as a knight, not in armor, but as a dynamic combatant, like a ninja using magic. Okay, like it was pretty much like Final Fantasy and like whatever other video game. I mean, it was kind of dumb. I was a 6th grader. Okay, but I was excited about it. I was happy. I was creating. I was doing something that mattered to me. I had no thoughts about, oh, I want to be a writer. I want to make a living off of it. I need to sell it. Like none of those thoughts ever came to my mind. I was locked in. I was writing. I was doing something for the sake of doing it. And then I brought it to my teacher, 6th grade teacher, Mrs. Littell. She told me, without even barely reading it, she looked at it, or maybe she said she would read it later, and I waited the entire day until the next day to hear back from her. She said, "Oh, I'll read this when I get home, or I'll read this later." I doubt she read it. I mean, if she did, she didn't really read it. Maybe she read it. I don't know. That's not the point. I'm imagining, I don't actually know what happened. In my mind, she looked at it, glanced at it, flipped through it, and then said, "Oh, this is pretty great that you're doing this." But real writers outline and plan for years. Real writers have to work really hard. Real writers don't just start writing. This isn't real writing, is what I heard. I'm not a writer, is what I heard. I shouldn't do this, is what I internalized. And I was devastated, yet again. I made video games my entire identity. It was how I made friends, all through high school, even in adulthood. In fact, all my current friends was because of a friend that, I don't want to get too much into details, but all my current friends are because of video games and anime. The two things that define me. TV, well, maybe 3 or more. Movies, TV, video games, anime. That was my entire life. That was my entire identity, because nobody was going to take that from me. Those were things that had low stakes. I did only writing for school, and I barely did it because I didn't really care anymore, because they internalized that it's not important, that I shouldn't do it because I'm not going to be able to make a living off of it, because real writers plan and outline and do meticulous world building and all sorts of bullshit. I internalized that I am not allowed to be me. And so I did what I could that was low stakes, that I couldn't possibly think would make me a living, because then I knew internally that adults would not tell me I can't do it for that reason. They could tell me I can't do it because I'm staying up too late, like video games. I played until 2 or 3 in the morning, playing Counter-Strike, playing Diablo 2, playing StarCraft, doing custom map settings, because I really loved custom map settings. I played the paintball ones a lot with ghosts. I really liked that one. I like the RPG type ones. I like the pretend Warcraft 3 ones. Because it was like Warcraft 3 but in StarCraft. It was interesting. I played those because I was really bad at 1v1s and stuff. I did 8v8s, no rush 20 minutes ones, because and then there was always that asshole who came in and just destroyed you, even though you're like, no rush 20 minutes, no rush 20 minutes. Yeah, I was like a stupid kid, okay? Like, I stayed up late. I knew that I wouldn't be told that I couldn't do it because I wouldn't make a living off of it. And so that's why I did it. I could get yelled at for doing it too much. I could get yelled at for staying up too late, for my schoolwork suffering. None of that mattered. I could internally throw that away. I didn't care, because the one thing that was true was that it was something I wanted. It was something I enjoyed. Unfortunately, those things distracted me from the things that truly matter in life. They're just recreation. Maybe you can make a living off of it. That's not the point. I avoided doing the things that truly mattered to me, especially art. I attempted several times. I've been talking about this the past 5 streams. I finally have internalized exactly why all this happened, why I've been living the life the way I have for the past 6 years. The reason I failed so miserably at all the things I've tried to do is because I started, realized I couldn't make a living from it, and then stopped. Maybe got a resurgence of it, because if it's meaningful, it's not going to stop. It's going to come back. You're going to do it again. You're going to do it even when it's hard. You're going to do it when you hate it because you love it. That's why you show up, especially when it's boring, especially when it's meticulous, especially when you're so tired of drawing boxes in different angles that you still do it. You're so tired of doing major scales and Dorian scales and Mixolydian scales, but you still do it because you know you need those fundamentals in order to truly express yourself the way that you need to. That's why you write journals, even when you're not going to publish them. That's why you write anything, is because you need to just keep writing. You need to get the raw material out. And you need to get the fundamentals. That's why you study grammar. Not because it's a high school, you need to study grammar because it's for your grade. You study grammar so that it gets out of the way. You study vocabulary so it gets out of the way because you need all those fundamentals out of the way, invisible, so that you can show up and say what you fucking want to say. And I didn't get the opportunity to do that because I kept changing lanes. I kept changing direction. I was floating around trying to perform everyone else's script. And the one person who mattered, I ignored. I said, I am not allowed to be me because everyone else will tell me that that person is not allowed to exist, that that person won't matter, that that person won't make a living, that that person, whatever. I internalized, I am not allowed to be me. So 6 years ago, I kind of subconsciously started healing from that core wound. I started streaming. That was the soft beginning. I started streaming and I was kind of delusional and I was kind of stupid. It was shitty content. I started streaming on Twitch because I thought, oh, look at all these people getting all these donations. I play chess. All these other people playing chess are getting all these donations. I'm in the community. I'm watching the Twitch channels. They're interacting with me. Maybe I could do that too. So I started going live on Twitch, playing chess, analyzing chess, trying to be one of the people that was in the chess community. It kind of spiraled out of control for a while. That's not the point. The point was I started showing up because it was what I wanted. Several months down the line, after a couple of hospital visits, because I had mental breakdowns, because I was avoiding the core problems, I was just showing up for the surface level, somewhat healing that wound. And so what I did is I went to my doctor and I said, I will not delay this any longer. I am a woman. I am transgender. That is not going to change. I will not stop needing these surgeries. They have continued to haunt me. I can't even look at myself in the mirror anymore because I do not respect somebody who is avoiding a serious problem and not doing anything about it. And so I said, I am allowed to be me. I don't need anyone's permission. I do need a process. I do need to go through the process. I need to work for it. Those are different problems. They are solvable. But it couldn't start until I said, I am allowed to be me. I went through that legal process. I got diagnosed with autism. I started getting help. I started getting coaching. I had people who were mentoring me, who were giving me access to resources, who were helping me. Something I never had my entire life. People who were actually helping me achieve a goal so that I wasn't alone, struggling alone. I had people who had resources. I had people who could open doors for me. That changed something inside of me because I've never had that my entire life. I've had people say, oh, you're on your own. Oh, only rich people can get mentorship and coaching. Only rich people can get private lessons for music. You're in high school band. Isn't that enough? We don't care about actually helping foster a life for you. We're just going to give you, the bare minimum. And, I don't want to get into childhood trauma, but that is the core wound. Was that I'm not allowed to be me, and that getting help was not an option, and that I have to do everything on my own, and I have to not be me while doing that. And so now I got connected with North Bay Regional Center. They've connected to me in multiple agencies, and I'm getting coaching. I have people who are opening doors for me. I have people who are finding a home for me with mentorship to have a new family. And it might be a temporary family, a host family, but it is a fundamental shift in who I am. That I am somebody who is part of something. I am somebody who has community. And tonight I realized what the core wound was. That I was not allowed to be me. And so I started streaming tonight because I needed to say this. I'm allowed to be me. No questions. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. No arguments. No small intricate details that change it. I am allowed to be me. And so, that's what, if I had one message to send to the entire world, and it would be broadcast to every single person on the planet, it would be this. You are allowed to be you. You are allowed to be you. You are allowed to be you. You guys in chat are crazy. No, you aren't. You actually aren't. So many details. You guys are hilarious. I'm going to go over the comments now. What instruments were you on? I started with singing. I then moved on to trumpet. Actually, that's not actually correct. I tried a bunch of different instruments. I played, like my brother had we had a clarinet, we had a flute. I tried playing them. I couldn't even make a sound out of the clarinet. I could make that squeak by blowing it into it as hard as possible. I didn't understand how it worked. It smelled like wood, or maybe it was plastic. I think it was a plastic one, but it still smelled like wood. It smelled weird. But I liked saxophone. I remember seeing like a concert. We went to a concert as a part of a school kind of event, and there was like jazz music, and they said, oh, this is a saxophone, like this is a trumpet, this is a snare drum. Like they they did the whole introduction of every instrument thing, because I had already been singing since I was like 5 years old. I was in choir. I was a soprano until things changed. But I was a soprano, and basically, I already had fundamentals of singing. And obviously you played recorder in like second grade. And I remember practicing the, hot cross buns and all that stuff. And I remember like learning the notes. I didn't know how to read sheet music or anything. I never really fully knew how to read sheet music properly till probably around high school. I was playing trombone by then. Um, but even then I had like little shortcuts. I didn't truly understand how to read sheet music, like properly read it, until I went to college, like 10 years after high school. I was like 20, I think like 26. Yeah. I went back to college and I did the music program full time, like I said earlier. And I learned clarinet and I learned saxophone. I reclaimed my identity. So even then, I was beginning to reclaim the lost childhood. I was saying I always wanted to play saxophone. I always wanted to conquer the clarinet. And I really love the clarinet. I studied it really hard in college. I love it. I love clarinet. I love saxophone. I play tenor sax. I haven't touched them in 6 years because I had to do all this other stuff. And it's just, there hadn't been really any room. I practiced sometimes on stream. I played sometimes on my own, but it was like, it wasn't really there. And I hope it'll be there again. But now is not the time. I have other things I need to focus on, one or two things at a time, right? I have some important work I'm doing, including art. Drawing is a huge part of who I am. It always has been. It should be a part of everybody. Everybody should draw for no reason at all other than self-expression in the most raw form, other than dance. Dance is another one everyone should do. Um, but I struggled. This was actually kind of one of the things I've been learning is that like what I'm doing now is I'm sticking through the difficulties. I did this with music in college. I stuck through the difficulties. I powered through. But like now I'm starting to learn a lot of the core problems were because I would start something, get frustrated that I wasn't very good at it, and then quit. This is a common problem. It's not unique to me. This is a very common problem among any kind of like musician or writers or artists, any kind of thing. Um, People expect to get really good. If they're not really good at the beginning, they get really frustrated and they don't push through. Because you're going to be really bad for a while. And you got to push through it. You got to do daily, like over time iterations of learning through training, like sensory, like motor responses. Like you need to train your body to do these things. It takes time. You have to sleep on it. Like you can't just do it all in one day. But because I tried saxophone and I was getting lightheaded because I was probably playing it wrong, I wasn't getting coaching. If I stayed, I would have because it was beginner band. But I said, you know what? Maybe I'll play trumpet, which is ironic because trumpet requires like even more pressure than saxophone. Saxophone is like, if you play it right, it's like one of the easiest flow of wind out of any wind, pretty much any wind instrument. I think oboe is the only, recorder is like the only, recorder and oboe are like the only two instruments that barely require any airflow. But they have different problems where you just like, you have, with recorder, you can't blow too hard, and like, it's very sensitive. It's a very advanced instrument, which is weird that they have you play it in second grade. It's like probably one of the most advanced instruments to play. It's really hard to play recorder well. It's really easy to play like hot cross buns and sound like garbage. You just blow air into it, but to actually play it well requires extreme control, and understanding of how the overtones work and like pitch angle, like airflow angles and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, I switched over to percussion around 6th grade, and then I played trombone from like 8th grade until all through high school. I played French horn in like 10th grade. I played guitar. I also was in choir still, sometimes. I wasn't always in choir because you had to do band or choir. You couldn't do both. But one year I had an extra elective, and I did choir that year. And I loved it. It was really meaningful. I love singing. I love dancing. I love playing instruments. I love drawing. I love writing. I love acting. I love public speaking. I love content creation. I love expression. Can we goon to you? Yes. I'm not going to be able to stop you. Just don't be weird about it. Certainly don't invade my boundaries. You look so tired. I mean, I am tired, but isn't everybody? You can't always have it all. I mean, here's some negative people. You guys are missing the point. I wasn't talking about specific details. You guys are probably still talking about that. I'm still scrolled up reading the comments, but you guys are missing the point of the speech, okay? Like, I wasn't talking about having a career in something. I was talking about a core wound that I am not allowed to be me. It wasn't about the intricate details of like, oh, if you want to be an artist, you have to go to art school and you have to get mentorship, you have to get scholarship, you have to, like, no, that's all part of the game. Like that's part of the nitty gritty of it. Like that's not the point. A lot of people chase the nitty gritty without a core belief of who they are. This is not unique to me. A lot of people chase the specifics, the path that is given to them without understanding why they do it. And it's normal because you have to go through stuff. You can't just wait until you're ready. You got to just do it. And most people do especially if they have, support, emotional support. Like, you can do this. Don't give up. I never had that. I was like, I'm going to give up. And then people were like, okay, well, that saves us money because now we don't have to take you to all those different practices. Now we don't have to get you lessons. We don't have to pay for college or whatever. You have the same philosophy. Yeah, Annie. Jesus is the Son of God. True. According to the Bible. That sounds pretty crazy. I mean, it is pretty crazy. Damn. Yo, heard you were going to make it clap. Gotta twerk for the camera sometimes. Animorphs are badass. True, Animorphs. I loved Animorphs. I read that. I read a couple of those books. There was also the side one. There was like the Animorphs, and then there was like a different one, right? Wasn't there wasn't there like a different Animorph series that was like named, like it was like a spin-off series, right? Am I crazy? Is this a Mandela effect? I feel like there was an Animorphs and then there was a spin-off series. Is this a Mandela effect? I think Three Kingdoms is a book already. That's not the point, Cobart. I was a kid who was doing something specifically for the art of doing it. The act of doing it. Actually, no ninja in medieval Europe. It was a fictional story, bro. I was 12 years old. I had watched anime and played Final Fantasy. What do you think I'm gonna do, right? Like, come on. I watched like ninja anime. Naruto wasn't a thing yet, but I had watched like Ninja Scroll and like other different like ninja anime, I think. I don't remember exactly, but like I watched like various anime with a lot of ninja, or at the very least, if it wasn't about ninjas, there was like ninja themes and like just ninja-esque things because it's like, Japanese culture and all that kind of, like, even like Princess Mononoke, like that has like ninja undertones, right? Europe had ninjas. Yeah, ninjas are just like, stealthy, like either informants or assassins or any kind of number of things. Thieves, like burglars. Like informants, burglars, or assassins, right? Like they would listen and like they would go places and listen for information to give to their ruler. To their employer. Oi, Miss Littell. This is Littell. Yeah, I mean, She was a pretty good teacher, but she was very old fashioned. She was old when I was like, she was old then. Um, she was like from like the really old school, like schoolhouse type teacher. Like basically like, it wasn't always bad. I learned a lot of things, and I think she meant well, but it's just when you're a child, you interpret things differently than how adults intend it. And not everybody knows these things. We're learning more about psychology nowadays. But when I was in school, and even nowadays, obviously teachers aren't always perfect. But when I was in school, they did not think about the child's psychology. They just tried to diagnose your behavior. They tried to correct your behavior. They're like, oh, you're interrupting the class, so we're just going to isolate you in a corner and all the kids are going to laugh at you, which is exactly what happened. But we don't need to go into childhood trauma. She probably had a miscarriage that morning, so she was What? Jesus Christ, dude. Don't talk like that in my chat. It's a warning. You're going to get timed out or banned if you keep talking about weird stuff like that. It's really inappropriate. Whatever. The classic oh, Jesus Christ. About you read comments, dang. I was trying to say a speech because it was really important. This is like a crucial life moment for me. Do you understand? Like, I went live instead of going to bed because I needed to say this on stream. It was really meaningful. That's why I wasn't reading comments, okay? Clancy the gay hamster? Oh, damn. That sounds like a cartoon. That should be like a cartoon. Clancy the gay hamster. That's not the point. Maybe if you read your viewers' profound words, you can make it. The reason you fail is probably because you don't take SSRI. No, those never worked. I went through like when I was in my 20s and I was getting like therapy, quote unquote, because I wasn't really in it. I was just like, they prescribed it to me because I was having trouble and I wasn't actively engaged like I started doing 6 years ago. I've been completely actively engaged in my treatment these past 6 years. I had to for my surgeries and for everything I have now with all this, with all the advocacy, with all the support, coaching. Back in my 20s, I took SSRIs because a doctor just told me to take it. And they tried out a whole bunch of different SSRIs. The problem would keep coming back, or they would have severe side effects, and then it didn't really solve the problems anyway. There is a thing in clinical psychiatry or psychology, or in clinical medicine for psychology, for psychiatric and mental health, mental illness conditions, that basically my psychiatrist explained it to me. This is why I'm on Lamictal or lamotrigine, which is because it's a mood stabilizer. It's a different mechanism. It's actually off label. It's actually like an anticonvulsant for like people who get epilepsy. But basically it's a mood stabilizer as a side effect. So it's used off label for people with anxiety disorders and mood disorders and all sorts of things. I'm autistic. So it's like I have an emotional regulation issue, and processing issue because I over process. I take in too much. I've had to train my whole life to basically just build a tolerance for external stimuli. Because if I didn't, I would be broken at all times. I don't want to live in a bubble. I don't want to be a bubble girl. I need slow exposure, and that's what I did. So I was forced in my 20s. I was like going through homelessness and stuff. So I was kind of forced to live in environments that were constantly bombarding me. I'm autistic. I'm overstimulated by external stimuli. I process things extremely more rapidly and deeper and more like most people ignore things. They put it in the background. I see everything all at once and it's overwhelming. Most people would not be able to handle it, but I've been handling it since birth. So I build a tolerance. I'm a box at a Mixolydian scale. Is this art? Yeah, so basically my psychiatrist explained to me that SSRIs, if a bunch of them don't work, it's very unlikely that that another type of SSRI is going to work. I tried several SSRIs. If we just kept trying SSRIs, the mechanism of action, if it doesn't work for at least like if I mean even with like if one doesn't work, maybe another might work. But if several don't work, it's extremely unlikely that any of others are going to work. So I'm on Lamictal, which is a mood stabilizer. Um, Estrogen also changed things because I dealt with a core need, which was to express my body as female, to feel more aligned with my identity. But also because estrogen is a little bit more, it does have really intense highs, but compared to testosterone, it's a lot more even keel. I'm a lot softer. Like, let's just put it that way. I don't want to get into who I was before transitioning, but I was a very, very sharp-edged person. You would not think I'm okay. Like, if you think I'm messed up now, think about how messed up I was before. Okay, I was like fucked. You have no idea how fucked my life was. I was a terrible person. I mean, people didn't think that, but it was not going in a good direction. I was extremely problematic, and like I got really upset. And when you have testosterone fueled upsetness, it becomes very scary. As, you know, not to say that like estrogen escalation is also not scary, but it was very, very scary. Like testosterone energy anger is very scary to people. And it's scary to myself, and it harmed myself. But we don't need to get into that. Please don't use big words. Bro, her pink collar been dragged through dirt. No, this was I did some facial cleansing. It was a Dead Sea mud mask, and I didn't wash it off all the way. Yeah, it was a Dead Sea mud mask. Yeah, so, Rebecca, you aren't allowed to exist. It's true. Get off live. The wound gonna come right back tonight. What are your pronouns? She, her. Rebecca, you're like a fly, and flies gravitate to shit, but they need to in order to manifest a cocoon that surrounds them. And then they incubate in the cocoon for 6 to 7 months and become a bigger fly. 6, 7. That's you, the fly. Whoa, so profound. And then somebody did emoji, and then you did emoji of a fly. Profoundly gay. True. Wait, you a guy? No, I'm a chick. Couldn't even stick to chess. Makes sense that gender didn't stick either. What are you talking about? You never quit chess. Even right now, my brain is processing chess moves, even though I'm not even thinking about it. And now that I'm thinking about it, oh boy. I just played like 10 chess games in my head. Don't pull a Tumblr, Ridge. What? Why did you go dark? Because I mentioned Tumblr? We don't talk about Tumblr. You should learn to love yourself before you change your gender. That's not, I mean, that's not how it works. I changed my body to match my gender, and then I felt respect for myself, and I learned how to love myself. It's like the thing you wanted me to do was not possible until I flipped it around. Do you understand? I would have never loved myself. I would have never respected. What kind of man would I have been if I am not, quote unquote, man enough to be a chick? Okay, like, what kind of man would I have been when I looked at myself in the mirror? You're a coward. You didn't do what you needed to do. You're avoiding your things you need to do. You're a loser. What kind of man would I have been? There was no choice. Ironically, I had to grow the balls to be a chick, to get a pussy. Okay, I had to have the balls to have a pussy. Exactly. The bare minimum. Oh, the bear. Is probably one bear. No, you aren't. You actually aren't. So many details. Okay, we're caught up to that. You're allowed to be me, actually. I can be you, Cobart? Like a heretical mutant? What does that even mean? Rommel, are you a Christian? Yes, sir. Hey, I love Christians. Well, not all. Well, I guess I love everybody. Isn't that what Jesus teaches? But it doesn't mean I'm going to let everybody hurt me or into my life. There's certain people who claim to be Christians that base their whole religion off of their whole religious denomination on everything that Jesus taught, but doing the opposite of that. Of not including everybody, of hating people that are different than you, of casting judgment when you're not God. Like all sorts of things that people are doing that they're calling them Christian, and they have nothing to do with Christ. Christ is like, love everybody, forgive people, let God do the judging. Like that's what Jesus taught. He was a pretty cool dude. I would hang out with Jesus. I'd make out with Jesus. I don't know if he'd want that though. And I wouldn't want to break his boundaries. I think he's asexual. And I need to respect that. You know, Ace Pride, JC Ace, let's go. Jesus Christ, our asexual bro. Ew. Brother, ew. Ew, brother. What's that, brother? He about to snap after reading those comments? Okay, I'm going to block you for misgendering and being a general asshole. Stay strong, brother. Recorder. I have a construction joke, but I'm still working on it. Oh, God, I get it, Blaynock. Close the door. What door? The door already is closed. What are you talking about? You guys actually think that's an open door? Life is an open door. Life is an open door. Okay, no. You guys think that's an open door? You guys, that's like soundproofing paneling. Like, that's not an open door. You guys actually think that's an open door? It's soundproofing or sound reduction paneling, I guess, is a better description. That was weird. Do you know why they teach the recorder in middle school? Because I know why. Read the comment, for fuck's sake. No one cares about instruments. Which fuckstain asked that? Who is this bloke talking to? Okay, I already blocked you, and I'm adding you to the blacklist so I don't read your... You love crack? You know, she's hearing voices, I think. Watch out for the black stuff on your collar. Alternamorph? What are you? Okay, I need to actually Google this, or Perplexity this. Was there an Animorphs spin-off series with a different title? Yes, there was a short Animorphs spin-off series called Alternamorphs. That's what it was, you're right. Which consisted of 2 choose-your-own-adventure-style game books separate from the main numbered series. Damn, Alternamorphs. That's crazy. You became a woman, everything is better now. You guys are not understanding what happened. I'm not just a woman. You're not just a man, or you're not just a woman, or you're not just a person. You're not just your job. You're not your stuff. You're not your $400 coffee machine. You're not your refrigerator that can play Doom. Okay, you're not your fancy car. You're not your friends. You're not your wife. You are an individual, and you're a person, and you're complex, and you're full of all these things. You guys like the Fight Club? I am better because I started respecting myself and aligning myself with who I truly am. And for me, that specifically meant accepting that I'm transgender. But the root cause of improving my life was not that I transitioned, even though that is like the effect. The root cause is that I looked at myself in the mirror and said, I'm going to do what I need to do. That is the root cause. And then once things start to get aligned, all that stuff that was background noise, just like all that stuff, gone. Especially after my final surgery. After I had vaginoplasty, gone. All that noise, gone. Permanently. There's new noise. I didn't say all my noise went away. I don't know why people seem to think that transgender people, once you get surgery, it just means your life is better forever. No, it means you've gotten rid of all that noise. Now you can start looking at the other noise. The noise that is like trying to make a living somehow, like everybody else, right? Doing things that matter to you forming a community, forming a family, whatever that means to you. It means something different for everybody, right? Hi, how are you? You go brain surgery? Yeah, I don't think so good. Um, yeah. Anyway, I needed to say that on stream. I needed to make that speech at the beginning of the stream. I needed to put it out there. Make more OF stuff. There will be a time. Trust me. Not giving up on that. Trust me. I'm doing that until I'm 80, and then I'm gonna do it till I'm 90, and then I'm gonna do it till I'm 100. I'm gonna do it forever if I can. I don't care. I'm gonna fit whatever category I fit in. Okay, like I'm not gonna stop. No one asked for speech because I didn't need your permission. You guys are just witnessing. Witness me! Witness me! Witness me! I don't need your permission to make content, to stream on my YouTube channel. I don't need your permission. Do you get that, Batliv? Batlith? The life of a warrior. We will play World of Warcraft again, trust me. But I just needed to talk about some stuff and just get all that off my chest. And we're going to do a little bit of drawing, I think. I still have the energy for it. I drew for 6 hours today. And I still have energy for it. That's kind of what led me to that speech. Me, where this is going. We're going to draw. We're going to draw pictures. Or we're going to make marks on a page is more accurate. We're going to get a piece of paper. And we're going to get a pencil. And we're going to make marks on the page. That is the most accurate definition of what we're going to do. And we're going to put on some music. Bad meth? No, we're not going to do meth. No. Not even once. Yeah, we're gonna get the vibes going again. Late night drawing sesh. Let's go. Okay. You like cocaine? Jesus Christ, goth boy. What the hell? You okay? So yeah, I did some drawings earlier. Um, let's, I did some drawings earlier, off stream. Let's just like kind of review where we are to get started. So this is just a free form drawing. Um, this one was starting to be freeform, but then I kind of noticed some things. This one became something more focused. It's basically like a shattered clock of some sort. And I wanted to like kind of experiment with like planes and axes because I've been working on those things. So you can kind of see like the clock hands. There's something that bursts through it, or you know, the glass shattering. Details are not too great, but the idea is there. And this is like some box figure. I don't know if that's part of the clock or maybe it's even a shadowy figure. Who knows? This was another freeform drawing. I'm just kind of drawing something. It almost looks like there's like an insect all zoomed in close. I really like this one. It was very exploratory. It felt like chaos, but like I kind of had some order to it. You can see like there's somewhat like water droplets. I don't know if you can particularly see it. And let's try to see if let's see. It's a little too sharp. What the hell? Okay, I think something happened. I need to unplug it. What the hell happened? Okay, there it is. Yeah, the focus is kind of messes things up. Okay, anyway, yeah, so I mean, I did this one off stream. This one we did on stream a bit, I think. Yeah, we did some of this. I did that the day before. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so like, let's just kind of have like a kind of relaxing, you know, making marks on a page kind of, kind of night, because I feel like it. Okay. Switch over here. Our Pentel Orange Nero 0.5. Auto feeding. I really like it. Okay, let's start with some containers, like general shapes. And okay. Okay, light source. So basically, the top. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that should be enough, like light reference. Okay, now I want to draw like some vines crawling down. Or something crawling along that wall. Okay. Some kind of object. Another object. How about a hole? Get some cylinders over here. Get some capsules. To determine how to connect to this source over here. Okay, and then cut that. Basically, I want to get like something that's like basically attached itself to an orb, like an eyeball, to create like and yeah, basically this is some these. Like kind of has like this creep, almost like StarCraft kind of creep. Yeah, give it some life. Yeah, basically I want to feel that and then how is this gonna exist? Whatever this is. the device itself. And then maybe it connects, like it's looking at maybe it's looking at a mirror of itself. A little distorted, right? You never see yourself. It sees itself without the attachment, right? It doesn't see itself clearly. Yeah, maybe even the mirror itself is corrupted by this thing to make sure it gives it a false impression of what it is. Like it's lying to itself because it does become the thing, but it needs to not know that it's not the thing. Like it has to become the thing completely, because if it knew who it really was, it would have existential crisis. It's a plant. It doesn't want to think that it's a plant. It's almost like the existential crisis we all have. We don't actually want to accept that we're human. You don't want to accept that we're these floating bag of weird brain creatures with a nervous system and skeletal system and meat. I feel like being a human is inherently an existential crisis. We don't want to accept that we're animals. We don't want to accept that we're meat bags, like Bender says. Are you guys? I don't even know. Like, something is going on, or nobody's here. Is anybody actually here? Type 1 in the chat if you're here. I just hope that if there are people here and they're chatting, I can't even see it because it's not showing anything. So I don't know if it glitched or not. So. Hey, what's up, Serby? How you doing? I made a pretty important speech at the beginning of the stream if you want to go back and listen. A very meaningful moment. That's actually why I went live, is because I needed to say something. I had a pretty big revelation today. Reclaiming my identity, reclaiming my selfhood, that I'm allowed to be me. I'm allowed to be an artist. Is basically what this art journey has been opening up inside of me. I mean, it's been dormant for a while. And it's why all the themes of my emergent art, like just like, I mean, this one became a little bit more deliberate, but the theme that's been happening the past couple of weeks in my art has been human and machine hybrid, possibly plant and human and machine, which is kind of like, this is a plant. And like, basically trying to, like, the existential horror of not knowing who you actually are and trying so hard to assert yourself. What are you? Are you human? Are you machine? Are you plant? Like, which are you? You're actually like this new thing. I think that's like the answer, right? You're not any of those things. You're a combination. You're a completely new life form. And you need to accept who you are. And that's what all of us have to do in life. But I feel like accepting that, like, the core wound in my life has and always has been that I don't remember any core trauma before this moment. But that core wound is that I was told that I'm not allowed to do art because I won't be able to make a living off of it at 8 years old. And then I couldn't be a writer at 12 years old, even though I was excited about a novel I was writing. It was pretty trash, but it was a first novel for a kid. It's a big deal. How many kids do you know that write novels? I was writing a novel because I wanted to write something. Not because I thought that I could make money off of it. Not because I thought it would be like my life. My life in the sense that I am somebody who writes. And it just broke something inside of me over time, that I thought that nothing I do matters unless it's eventually going to make money. And ironically, because I never really fully committed to anything, I never ended up developing something deep enough to be able to do anything to make a living. And so I haven't really been able to do anything. And now I'm finally putting my foot down, saying I don't care what other people think. I am going to be me. And that's basically what the speech was. As you are, I wish you could relate and help. But, it doesn't, we can all relate, Tom Simo, because we're all human. And we all have our own unique voice. And I encourage you to find your unique voice. And just because we don't 100% understand the experience of someone else, humans from a very young age want to help each other and be a part of the tribe. And that means that it doesn't mean that we're all the same. It means that we're going to treat each other with love and respect because we're all in this together. And we may be different, but we celebrate those differences because it makes us who we are. And I can't change who I am. I went through extremely deliberate efforts to align myself with who I am. Not even just about gender. Like I said, it's been a 6-year battle to reclaim my identity. Gender was just the most painful one. And I dealt with that. So that after that was gone, the deeper work happened. The deeper work of who am I? Not what gender am I, but who am I? Like that unlocked the deeper question. That was never really, I didn't really have access to it until I dealt with that other core problem. But the biggest core problem, I just had a huge revelation, even though I've been like dealing with it. I've been healing from it these past 6 years. It started with that transition, and live streaming as well. But the biggest thing is that I've been dealing with this without actually naming it. And tonight I named it. So I felt like I had to go live to say something about it. And so I did. And it really opened up a lot of calmness inside of me. I love who I've been becoming. I love who I am. People love who I am. And I'm starting to see it now. And my future is going to be a bit tumultuous, but I think things are going to work out pretty well. I'm getting help. Help is on the way. Someone is coming to save me, but only I can truly save me. But you drew for 6 hours still. I also drew for 2 hours after the stream. Well, after I rested. And in the evening, I drew for 2 hours. Now we're drawing again. You gonna hurt your hand? I'm fine. I'm relaxed. I know my limits. I'm a writer. I write by hand. I own like 6 fountain pens. I'm a writer. I know how to relax my grip. Which is a problem I actually had in high school, which is this is one of the times that I was frustrated that I couldn't draw very well and I gave up, was because there was an artist in the class who was really good. He was even commissioning work for people. He was drawing and I got really envious. And I said, oh, every time I draw, I grip too hard and the lines are all jagged. And he's all, well, don't. And I was like, how do you stop gripping so hard? I kept asking him questions instead of actually just learning by trying to do it myself. I was trying to get knowledge. And I think that's like one of the root of my problems my whole life is that I keep trying to get knowledge before I try things. And now what's changed these past 6 years, definitely the past 2 years, or definitely the past year, is I started just doing things without having, just accepting that I'm not going to know everything. And just learning as I go. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to course adjust. You course correct as you go. You don't need to wait until some magical moment, which is never going to happen. Because it's not going to happen if you don't iterate, right? But yeah, I have a relaxed grip, and I don't feel any pain at all. I could draw for another 6 hours. I'm probably not going to. I'm probably gonna have to cut this short, because I do need to get some sleep. But I wanted to stream. I wanted to say some things, and it looks like we got a drawing started. This is probably my most obvious drawing in a very long time. Like you can tell what's happening here, kinda. Like there's an eyeball. It's looking at itself in the mirror. I don't know, we don't know if it's aware that is itself, but there's a narrative here of some sort. My technical ability is still to be desired, but I learned by doing. I'm actually directing my marks towards a goal. Instead of just drawing random. Obviously, I like doing my free drawing, where I just kind of draw without any kind of goal. But I feel like when I see something that looks like it could become something, I need to dive into it. It looks scary. Life is scary. So is existential crisis. That's kind of the theme of this piece here. It's about existential crisis, which is terrifying. We all go through it. Every human on this planet. And if you aren't, you're probably in denial, which is a different problem. It's a theme that's a motif, maybe not a theme, but a motif that's been happening in my recent work these past couple of weeks, is a plant that attaches itself to machinery that then interacts with humans. Have you ever tried digital art? Yes, but I want to learn through analog art because I love the tactile feel. I love that it teaches fundamentals much more clearly. I'm sure I could learn fundamentals with digital art, but I would much rather work with analog mediums. I write by hand. I use fountain pens for writing because I do have a typewriter as well, which not a lot of people use. It has had a somewhat of a resurgence among Gen Z, maybe some of the older Gen Alphas, but there's been kind of a resurgence of typewriter popularity, because it's like going back to a time where we weren't constantly attached to social media. It goes back to a time where we're not constantly, plugging things in and recharging batteries. A typewriter, it does require maintenance, but like it does one thing and it does it well. It types words, it hammers words into an ink ribbon onto a page. That's all it's supposed to do. It's not supposed to upload it to Google Drive. It only does one thing and it does it well. It does the exact thing that it's supposed to do. I think a lot of people are kind of tired of like the one-size-fits-all Swiss Army knife. You get a phone, you have a calculator, you have social media, you have an app that tracks your diet, you have an app that takes care of like some creature that you have to feed every day. Like, why are all these things? They're a lot of noise. They actually, if you do it right, it's not a ton of noise. There's ways to, I haven't fully dived into this, but there are ways to kind of absorb the noise. I have to find what those are all the way. One of those things is the bell is the most annoying. I solved that immediately. You take a little bit of you roll up some sponge and you put the sponge in between the bell, inside the bell, so that when you get to the end of the line, it doesn't ding every goddamn time. That's the one thing that you can do to improve your quality of life as a typewriter owner. At the very least. There's other things you can do to make less noise. Obviously, in the end of the day, it's going to crash against... Like, you're hammering things into a paper, it's going to go... Obviously. But there might be other ways to kind of absorb the sound. Like finding the right place to put it, the right kind of desk, the right material to surround it with. There might be ways to like soundproof stuff. I'm sure somebody could research it. Maybe I'll research it when I get my new place to live in. I want to be able to use my typewriter without bugging other people. I don't even really know what my situation is going to be. They're still working on finding a host for me. Like I'm going to have a host. They're going to be giving me a room to rent. And I don't know exactly what all the rules are going to be. I should be fine. They're finding a person who is completely understanding of who I am and what I do. So when they find the right person, it's going to be the right person. It's not going to be like, oh, some random person, and it's not going to be a surprise. They're going to know exactly what they're getting, and they're going to be okay with it because they agreed to it. That's what it's going to be. And that's why it's a little bit unnerving that it's taking so long, but when it does happen, it's really going to happen. And then eventually I'm going to get my own apartment. But those wait lists are ridiculous. I don't know how long that's going to be. So this mentor home situation is an in-between stage. It's like a waiting room. But I think I can do a lot while I'm there. I want to start oil painting. I think saving oil painting for when I have my new life, I think that's going to be a good... Because there's so much other artwork to do before, besides oil painting. I don't want to start confusing myself by switching to different mediums. Even acrylics, I don't really want to work too much with right now. Especially since painting requires a lot more space than like pencil work, right? Pencil work or pen or ballpoint pen work, or even inking with the dip pen and like Sumi ink. I have some Sumi ink. I have some Sumi ink. It's India black ink. And I also have like fountain pen style water-based ink, different colors, but I have water-based inks, non-carbon. Want to get into oil painting too? Yeah, like Bob Ross. I want to do, I could do a YouTube series on while I do my oil painting journey. But I really want to symbolically connect oil painting with my new life trajectory, my new life, where I'm living with support, where I'm living in a healthy environment with support and non-abuse, and where I'm living in a place where I'm going to be able to develop my life into a better place. And while I'm waiting for more independence, because I'm not going to have complete independence because I'm going to be in somebody else's home. But I am on wait list for subsidized housing so that I can have my own apartment. Hopefully, fingers crossed, a 1-bedroom apartment and not a studio. But even a studio apartment is a game changer for me. Even though, yeah, like going from a host family to an apartment is going to be like a temporary, kind of downgrade, but I'm going to have pure independence. It means I'm not, there's going to be just me, which is kind of terrifying, but I need it. We all need it. We need independence to truly become who we were meant to be. As long as I'm living in someone else's home, I'm never going to fully become myself. And you can go a long ways, but I want to see where things go. And I've never had true independence my whole entire life. I've never lived on my own. I've lived with someone else. I lived in couch surfing situations. I lived in homeless shelters. I never actually lived with true independence my entire life. And so I've been on wait lists to get my own apartment for like a year and a half now. It can take up to like they said it could take like, I don't even know if it's been a whole year. I think it's only been like 8 months. They said it can take up to a year and a half. I don't know if it's going to take longer than that, but either way, they're going to find a mentor home for me as an in-between while I'm waiting for that. So I'm going to have it. I'm going to get out of here. It's going to happen. I just don't know exactly when, but it will happen. It's not delusional. It's true. This is what's keeping me going. It's not just a hope. It's not just like, oh, maybe one day. It is, this will happen. We just don't know exactly when. And it's not going to take forever. They said it's not going to take months and months and months. Definitely not a year. Definitely not multiple years. And they wouldn't have said that. They're not allowed to say something unless they at least somewhat know that they're in the ballpark. They can't make promises. They can only make windows. And they're not going to give me false windows. They're not allowed to. They're legally required to not. So there's a sense of safety in that, even though I'm feeling very miserable about the situation, but there is a sense of safety. Like knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel changes everything than who I was 6 years ago. And there was a light at the end of the tunnel for the surgery too. At no time did I think the surgery wasn't going to happen. I mean, for a second I thought maybe, something would get in the way of it, or that it would be stolen from me because of things I don't really want to talk about because of the current state of the country and of the world. But either way, like it happened. It wasn't stolen from me. And I never have to do it again. It can never be undone. And there's a certain amount of safety in that. When you know something is permanent, there's like a peace in my mind, which is a huge part of it. It's not the only part, but it's a huge part of it. Price of rent in this day and age, yeah, that's why I'm struggling so much, is because I'm relying on resources that aren't quite there, but they will be there. They're getting them for me. They're looking actively, and there's new people all the time in these host situations. And they're looking for somebody that is going to be a really good fit. Cool art. You like it? I think I'm getting better. I think I'm actually starting to develop a voice with my art. I was just making like random marks before. Now I'm actually starting to make like motifs and like themes. And like, it might not be like perfect, but it's like, it's getting somewhere. It's a start, Something is happening. And it's pretty obvious, like it might not be completely obvious what's happening in this scene here, but something is happening. Someone can look at this and start to question what is happening, rather than just being like, oh, it looks like a bunch of random marks. Like, no, this is something that is a scene in time, in a current like it's an event that is happening at this exact frozen moment. There is movement, there is action, there is some kind of meaning. And I think that's like beginning to happen for me. I never actually really thought that I'd be able to do that. But these past couple of weeks, I've been showing up every day to put pencil or pen to paper. And look at me go. I've drawn for like, I think 8 hours today. No, I've been drawing for 10 hours. Like, what the fuck? I could draw for another 10 hours. No, probably not, but, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to, like, call it for now. I think this is a pretty cool scene. It's, yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm gonna see you guys next time. I want to play some more World of Warcraft, but I've been having too much fun drawing, so I'm shirking my responsibilities as a World of Warcraft warrior in the Burning Crusade. Okay, I need to stop shirking my responsibilities. No, I've been resting in an inn. So when I do go back to doing dungeons and stuff, I'm going to be getting a lot more XP, so I'm going to be able to make up for it. Don't worry, we're going to be grinding. Trust me. We are going to be grinding as soon as I get the momentum. And we're going to get to level 70. And we're going to get attunement. We're going to be pre-bis at some point. Anyway, thanks for joining me tonight. Thanks for listening to my rambling stuff about my personal life and about some movement that's going forward. Thanks for listening to my emotional speech at the beginning of the stream if you were here. And thanks for just being here through this art journey that is like kind of opening up a lot of doors for me internally. I don't know what it's going to lead to, but it's leading to, well, I actually do. It's going to lead to more art. When I have my own better space, I'm gonna start experimenting with oil painting and more acrylic painting. I actually have some fun stuff in store for the stream. I have an interesting format. We're gonna have 3 different main projects every stream. I have a long-term project I actually think will be pretty cool for YouTube. Is at the beginning of every stream, before I start doing my oil painting for that day, I want to do daily oil paintings, for at least 3 minutes. Obviously, we're going to do longer than that. Like, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of oil painting, before we do any other kind of art. Maybe start with a 3-minute sketch. Okay, first of all, I want to start every single stream when I start doing oil painting with mixing up the paint that I'm going to do, and I have a project that I think is going to be awesome. It's going to be really symbolic, but also like ritualistic, but also it'll be good content. What I'm going to do is I have a 90-day minimum project where every single day I make one motion on the canvas, one addition, like one brush stroke, and then it can go as long. I can fiddle around while I'm on it, but as soon as I lift the tool off the canvas, that's it for the day. And anything goes, like while it's on the canvas. If the paint's gonna dry in between sessions, but it might be able to still be a little wet, and I might be able to like do things like some blending while I'm there. So there's gonna be some fun stuff. I want to have a 90-day minimum where I create one piece of art with one approach to the canvas per day. Then I set that aside. I do my daily stroke. And then, I mean, some people do their daily stroke, but they do it in private. Anyway, then I set that aside, do a 3-minute sketch with a timer, probably pencil or ballpoint. Then I do a freeform anything goes canvas work with oil paints or acrylic paints. Probably with oil, because what's going to happen is I mix the colors for that day, and I'm going to have my palette ready with the oils I need. And then I transition from the one a day to the no limits. And then that's what we do for the stream until I'm done with the oil painting for the day. I mean, when I say done, I mean when I'm done with that session. And then we'll move back to like pencil or ballpoint and just like, I'll figure out, like, there's no real like hard and fast rule to this. It's just, I want to start integrating oil painting once I move into my new living situation. First I need to, establish whether or not I can even stream. If not, I'm going to have to go out to a new place to stream. And I have to bring my equipment with me and stuff like that. Do some IRL streams. So possibly. Hopefully I can stream in my room. I don't know how that's going to work. That's like not a huge priority because this is more of a temporary situation anyway. We'll do whatever we can. Either way, I'm not going to stop doing art. So even if it's not on stream, I'm gonna do it. And I can do whatever I can. If I'm not allowed to stream in the room, then I can go to a public place or to another place. Like maybe somebody's gonna give me some space. Like maybe a friend of mine can give me their space, or maybe I can rent out a studio space. Like some I can do whatever I can. There are places where you can rent out a space where I could do my live stream in. If I can't do it at home, I could go get like rent a space for a few hours to do my live stream and to do painting. We might be able to do that. There's creator spaces, right? Creator spaces are a thing. And there's several creator spaces here in my local area. So either way, I could also probably go to San Francisco for some kind of creator space. Who knows? It's a journey, and we're gonna cross that bridge when we get there. Hopefully not go under the bridge. Hopefully not jump off the bridge. Anyway, thanks for joining me tonight in this random kind of emotional kind of unlock that happened tonight. So see you guys. Ciao.